back in the kitchen at Christopher's World Grill, and we deal with a lot of main dishes from time to time, but today it's a creative way to come up with a side dish. It's called root vegetable pave. Might give us some background on this.
Root vegetable pave. I think technically like the Latin or Italian, French, whatever word is pave, meaning paved, like a paved road. Because when we cut this, it looks like like a brick road sort of thing. First of all, this is what a rutabaga looks like, sort of like a turnip green, but it's a little bit sweeter, a little bit, the color's a little bit different, a little bit denser, maybe a little bit more starch. I'll be using new potatoes. I've got a carrot peeled here, a sweet potato peeled, and we're also using something called a parsnip. Now, a parsnip looks like sort of a blonde carrot, and it tastes a little bit like a blonde carrot. Just a little bit sharper, sweeter, a great flavor for soups and stuff like that, so we're going to be using that. We are going to cut these into very, very thin slices. I'm using a mandolin, basically making like almost like a potato chip slice, maybe a slight bit thicker. So I'm doing equal parts. See, this is a large sweet potato, so like half of a sweet potato, half of an Idaho potato. When you cut a rutabaga, you want to cut the ends off to get a flat cutting surface. Now, these are normally covered in a thick wax, and also you can see this ring. That's really the peeling. You want to cut all that off, and the way you do it is almost like the way I've shown you how to do an orange. You want to come down and cut, you want to cut around a little bit like this. Now, I've got a little new potato. New potato, I like the nice little red rings in there. It gives it a little bit more color. Now, there's the vegetables that we're using, and I'm going to add a little bit of onion to this. Just going to take an onion and cut it the same way. I'm only going to use the center rings here because I want this to lay nice and flat in our baking dish. So I've got a few onion rings to give it a little flavor. Now I'm going to add a little bit of chopped garlic in there. Okay, give that some nice flavor. And some salt and pepper. Might take a little bit more. You're going to have to play with this a little bit. If I could give you a recipe, that's about that much. And now I've got about 1.5 cups of cream. Now the thing is, you don't want a lot of extra cream laying around. You want just enough to coat all these vegetables. You're going to mix this up really good with your hands. You want to try to separate all the layers. Make sure each layer has some cream in between it. And you really want to disperse the colors also. Now we're going to layer this into our baking dish. I'm just using a third pan here. Anyway, I've sprayed this with a little spray coating, and I've put it on the top as well so that this doesn't burn on the top, because sometimes this boils out a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to put it in like one layer at a time, and I really want to press it down because I want this layer to be as flat as possible before I put the next layer. Really work this, make sure it's all the way to the sides and in the corners and on the layers. Pushing that down a little bit, see I'm doing my fingers like this. There. Now I've got a little bit of cream left in the bottom. I want to make sure that gets right there. That's just about all you need. Now that's ready to go in the oven. I put that in the oven for about 350 degrees for about 35-40 minutes. All right. Here's our pave ready. Now this has been in here for about 45 minutes. You don't want to cut this right away. You want to let it set to probably room temperature. Now remember this is just a vegetable side dish, so I just put some asparagus on this plate. All right, Mike, I want you to taste this pave. It's a great side dish if you're doing like roast meats, roast pork.
All right.
Great stuff.
Hey, as you're going through this, Chris, you might address a couple of small things. I noticed you're using salt and pepper on all of your recipes. I think the temptation is that more may be better when it comes to experimenting with other seasonings. Talk about just using the basics.
Well, you know, really, recipes are great. If you have a great recipe, that's fine. But when you're experimenting at home, you just have to experiment. Salt and pepper. I use salt and white pepper when I don't want to see pieces of black in there. When I'm doing something rustic, Tuscan, I like to see cracked black pepper. But how did that taste?
There's a wonderful flavor to it. And Chris, to talk about those vegetables a bit, that's not common for a lot of people to buy those. And they aren't just in the grocery store, is that right?
All available in the grocery store.
All right.
Parsnips and rutabaga are a little bit, you have to look a little bit harder, but they're worth it. They're the secret to that.
Yeah, and I can tell you firsthand from one that's kind of picky when it comes to vegetables at times. My repertoire's been expanded for coming here, and this is one fine dish. We got the recipe for you online at kbtx.com. Just click on the Christopher's Kitchen. That's where you'll find it right there. Chris, thanks a lot. Awesome job on that.
Thank you.
And so from Christopher's World Grill in the kitchen with Chris Lampo, I'm Mike Wright.